Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for the market overview. And if you're interested in any of the services I provide, please check out the links in the description below for both the Patreon and Discord. Alrighty, so we're going to get into the market overview and then potentially a Q&A if I get questions after I go over this stuff. So let me unmute from the people in the Discord and go on. All right. So hopefully everyone can hear me now. Okay. So we are recording, guys. If you're in the Discord and if you happen to be watching this VOD, thank you for your support. Hopefully we can see you in the live room one of these days. Okay. So quickly, let's go over the markets here. So starting off with the dollar, like always, very interesting what I'm seeing from the dollar. I really like the price action. And I mentioned in a recap in the past, one of my more recent ones, that I do think the dollar has further to go down. However, I do see a structure being built that will likely lead to short-term bullish movement. All right, so let's take a quick look at what I'm seeing here. So in case you missed that recap, I had said I am potentially seeing the opportunity for a much larger head and shoulder structure. So we have the left shoulder here that formed, we have this large head that formed, and then we are potentially going to start making our way up into these bearish zones, whether it's the top towards 108, top of this blue zone, or even a push a little further going towards this fair value gap here, this bearish fair value gap, then finding a rejection, and then creating that larger right shoulder, which will give us a much bigger bearish structure for the dollar to go even further and potentially coming down towards 100 and the low side of this blue zone here. Now let's do a measurement of where this potentially can go via a measured move if it should play out as a head and shoulders. Again, not confirmed. We haven't even formed a right shoulder. We're just mapping out what may be, right? So here would be the measured move if we take from the top of the head to the neckline right here. And we pull it down to where we potentially break. So just under 97. So right around the bottom end of this blue zone here. So we would be looking for a full move, pretty much coming all the way down back towards this descending trend line right here. So this may be a little hard to understand what this trend line actually is on the daily. So let's go on the monthly so you can actually see how important that descending trend line is. This trend line is massive. This is the bullish trend line, okay? So this changed the entire structure of the dollar chart once it was broken through. So what often happens when you have a breakout from a structure? A retracement back to the breakout. So that would make a lot of sense that we see the dollar have a continuation down all the way back towards 97, 96, potentially just spiking there and trading within this lower blue zone. And then over a period of months to maybe even half a year, you'll have a bullish consolidation to continue higher, okay? The dollar chart is bullish until proven otherwise at this point. We're going to have to accept that, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have, significant downturns in the dollar's chart, especially when you're looking from a monthly time frame. This is the macro time frame, so within a year, you can have a quarter or two where you're going to have some serious downside. Okay, so watch for the dollar to potentially have that bullish move up back towards this blue zone, and then we'll be looking for some sort of rejection as we come into the zone or start tapping above it. And just take a look at this. You can always use price action to show you how history will rhyme. Every time you see a structure like this, you're having a sell-off down, slow grind down, you'll have a pop up. You see it here all the time, right here, right here, right here, every time. And then you get that pop up, pop up, pop up. You're going to get it here most likely again, just like that, coming down, just like that, coming down, just like that, every time. Okay? All right, now let's get on to the Dow. See what's going on there. So Dow having that retracement after taking out the liquidity above this swing high as expected, tapping into most of this fair value gap here. And it's going to slowly make its way down, especially if the dollar is going to see some upside, filling out these fair value gaps here. So this one should get taken out pretty quickly. And then a retracement all the way down towards this descending trend line, which again, just like I mentioned with the dollar, when you break out from a structure, you likely get a retracement back to test the breakout level, to test out the structure. If it could hold, that's very bullish for for the Dow. So I'm expecting some short-term momentum to the downside. So over the next 2 weeks or so, maybe as we're coming towards the end of December, and then we'll probably, if we can hold bullish, we'll probably have an impulse early into the year of 2023, maybe the first quarter or so. All right, next is the S&P. Similar to the Dow, coming into this larger fair value gap zone, I don't expect this to actually hold. I do expect the structure, it's a very impulsive structure in the short term to break. So I'm expecting this structure to break down. So we're probably going to see price come down, break through this, and then take out the liquidity under one of these swing lows or multiple. So there, and potentially even come back towards 3,600. Now 3,600 is going to be a very important level for the S&P to hold. It's going to be very, very hard for it to actually break. I do think if 3,600 is going to get broken on the S&P, I do think that would mean the Dow most likely fail to hold this structure here. So that would imply more bearishness in the short to midterm. Okay, so we don't want to see 3,600 get taken out. And I do think if price gets there, it should hold as long as the Dow can hold its bullish structure. Next is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, I expect to just completely just continue to trade along this descending channel and then break back into it. And the NASDAQ can actually come back down towards the wick. Most likely will pierce under it and still spike up. Again, the NASDAQ's going to always be a bit more volatile, a bit more elongated percentage-wise compared to the Dow and the S&P. So you have to give it a little bit more room to be a little bit more whippy. But overall, if the S&P and Dow hold its structure, expect the Dow to follow suit. As long as it doesn't break under the median line of this descending channel, we should be all good for continued upside on the NASDAQ. But I still see it holding above this descending channel and eventually making a spike move up. Now, before we go on to oil, a lot of this can change if the Fed, starts having pivot in policies and such. We are expecting that we should see a 0.5 raise in rates, which is much lower. We've been averaging 0.75 for the past, I would say, couple months. So that is what's expected for the Fed to actually pull back on raising the rates. So as long as they do that, we should see decent upside, or at least status quo. If they should raise it for any reason, you're probably going to see a big spike down in the market. So if they renege and say, hey, we're just going to do 0.75 again, then that's going to be really bad in the markets. If for whatever reason they shouldn't raise rates, or they're going to go even lower and do, like, let's say a quarter, 0.25, then you may see the markets actually rally, and that would most likely break apart the idea that and validate the head and shoulder structure that may be forming in the dollar. You probably just see a spike down in that sort of scenario. Okay, so that's why it's good not to trade your expectations. So you'll hear me say I expect or I think. I'm not trading that. I'm just mapping out what I see. You want to trade what the chart is telling you. Okay, and right now the chart is saying be prepared for a potential impulse higher in the dollar, and inversely that means be prepared for more downside in the indexes. All right, next is oil. So oil's been very interesting. Like I said, came back to the descending trend line as expected so far, and it's holding steady for now. I actually do see this level overall holding. Again, remember, trend lines are zones, so I'm not going to be surprised if I start seeing this trade a little under this level, but generally we should see the bottom end of this much larger monthly bullish structure to hold. Okay, oil, just like the dollar, is quite bullish on the monthly, weekly, and even the daily to a degree. But we are in the midst of significant pullbacks on the monthly time frame. So we should see a prolonged move down, but we've hit the level on oil where I'm very comfortable to see it to start kind of easing its way down and then potentially spiking down to 60. Now 60 is extremely bullish level, and this is a level I'm looking at very closely. I've been saying watch for 85, 75, and 60, all three of these levels to get visited at some point, and two of the three so far have. I still think 60 is going to come and get grabbed as well, to grab all the liquidity below these wicks and also test out the much larger bullish structure on the monthly. So actually let me go on the monthly so you can actually see that, and let's clean this up before I do, just so it's a little easier to see. It's still going to be a little bit cluttered, but I'll give you a good idea of what I'm seeing here. So the monthly chart here, is pretty bullish as well. Okay, we're going to see a significant downturn over a couple months. Take that off. Over a couple months, we took out all the liquidity above this level here, so we're potentially having a massive change of character on the monthly time frame. So that does mean we could look at a couple more months of some serious downside, coming all the way down towards 60 and then even all the way down towards 50 and 40. But you have to understand, if it holds these levels, pretty much fills out this imbalance and holds it, watch for continuation higher, and that continuation higher is likely to take out the highs. It's likely to take out the highs, and this would actually make sense if you look at what's going on with Europe. Europe is asleep right now. The population, some of them are waking up, but they're not going to realize there's going to be no food next year. And what that means is there's also going to be a massive crunch on energy. So a lot of finagling's been happening politically to hide how much demand there really is going to be oil going forward. Because right now you're not seeing it, but next year, the entire year, there's going to be a massive demand for oil, and there's not going to be that much because OPEC has refused to increase its supply. They're just holding steady. So you're going to see a massive, massive impulse in demand for oil, and that's going to shoot price up next year. Very, very high, very, very fast. It's going to be a very hard year, especially for Europeans. So make sure if you're in Europe, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and be more cautious and more conservative than you otherwise would be. All right, next is gold and silver. So gold gold is really outperforming my expectations. I was expecting more of a pullback. I did think it'd come towards this fair value gap here, but I was looking for more downside. But it's really just been like, no, I want to go higher. But we'll see if we can actually get that confirmation above the high wick here. Okay, until that happens, then we can potentially see a further decrease into this fair value gap again, and then going lower. All right, but overall, very bullish. I can't not be bullish on gold, but I still am leaning towards downside because I'm getting more bullish in the short term on dollar. Okay, so if I end up being wrong on the dollar, just watch for gold to continue higher and then reach into this consolidation over here, the liquidity residing in this zone here. So around 1850 all the way up towards like 1875. Next is silver. Silver, beautiful. Silver's been extremely strong. So yeah, all liquidity above this swing high in this consolidation here, making its way up towards these fair value gaps here. And I actually think silver's likely to tap into this zone before any rejection going further down. So this looks great to make it all the way back to 24, potentially tapping in 24.5. And now let's take a quick look at Bitcoin, see what's going on with Bitcoin. It's been a pretty slow day today, slow weekend overall, but I'm actually liking what I'm seeing on the bull side of Bitcoin. Had a nice break of structure here, and then we've been consolidating above that structure we broke. And now if we can get the follow through, we'll look to start tapping into the fair value gap up here on the daily. So looking to start tagging some liquidity that's been residing above our head, and also testing the low side of this consolidation we lost. So I think we have a lot. I think the probabilities are clearly on the side of more upside. However, we're not talking major upside. We're talking just a small move, relatively a small move to 17,600 and then towards 18,600 around this zone. And then we'll see how the price action develops as we're tapping into the liquidity in this fair value gap zone, or at least trading within the lows of the consolidation we had formed since June, essentially. Okay, so you want to have a bit of a bullish bias on Bitcoin in the short term, but overall it's still macro bearish, clearly, as you can see clearly. All right, that's it for the overview. That's my view on the general markets. Yeah, so hopefully you're enjoying that. And anyone who's in this, it's just me and Nasty. So Nasty, if you have any questions, you can let me know. If not, that's okay. If you're watching the VOD and you have questions, always leave a comment. Or if you're in the Discord, just message me on the Discord and I'll answer them. All right, Nasty, you looking at anything, or you have any questions about what I went over?
No, I'm still looking at LTC, XRP, Theta, Dot, and BNB. So I'm still in those, as well as Stello. Stello's pulling back a little bit further than I would like, but it's okay. I'm still happy with that. But yep, BNB still looks good.
Yeah, BNB looks great.
I think Theta.
Oh, Theta.
I think Theta can really do well.
Let's see, Theta. Ooh, very interesting. Yeah, Theta is very interesting. Had a nice bottoming tail candle here, and I'm liking this
Yeah,
consolidation as well. This kind of grind down. Yeah, if we get a bullish daily candle closure today, that's gonna be very very enticing. That looks pretty good actually. And then you have a clear
yeah,
fair value gap you want to tap into on the daily here, right here at about $1.04, $1.05. Yeah, this is nice. This is really really nice. This is one of the more
yeah,
interesting ones in the short term. This and B&B looks quite bullish as well. This looks
yeah,
quite good as well. Um, very very nice. Mm. Now you
yeah. And it's so
mhm.
strange how yeah.
No no go ahead go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying it was so strange how I came across it. One of the guys in the group, I don't even know how to say it, it's PRTHXXX or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I don't know why I'm losing when I want long and I'm losing when I want to short." And he sent through a little chart of BNB. I'm like, "What? This is wild." And this guy's been he's been kind of wanting to short it. And I was like, but
Oh,
man,
short B&B here. Oh
yeah,
no, that's a great place to
yeah,
long it.
yeah,
That's where you want to long it.
yeah. So I was just saying, well, let's see what you got. What have you studied? What have you been looking at? And kind of see if we can go from there. So yeah, I was so happy with that little B&B that he showed me. Just, I mean, we wouldn't have seen it today. And LTC, I think LTC can do really well as well.
I'm looking forward to go to 100. I've been saying it in the members chat that I'm interested in shorting it nearing $100. I think this can have an extended move up, take out the liquidity from this
Yeah,
imbalance here, and then make its move towards 100 to 110 ish. I would look to short it there and then look for a nice pullback, probably sub 100, like 95, 90 ish. But this looks great. This looks great. I love how after this consolidation and the FTX failure, unlike Bitcoin and most of the other
yeah.
coins, it didn't take out its lows, and it actually spiked up higher, and then is trading on top of this ascending trend line, and pretty much painting a flag structure. But
Yeah,
I think this looks pretty good for continuation. I'm not sure. Litecoin's been what am I doing? Litecoin's been impressive on how much it's actually kind of been relatively strong to Bitcoin and all of crypto. It's very very
I
powerful.
think what maybe benefited Litecoin is because aren't they mining it? There's something with mining.
Potential. I mean, I don't really follow what's going on with Litecoin, but I wouldn't be surprised that it's going to be one of the more popular coins to mine, especially since Ethereum is not really an option
Yeah,
anymore. So, yeah, I'm not surprised with Litecoin. It's cool to see. I mean, it's one of the oldest coins around. Quickly before we go on, just in case you're watching the VOD, just quick update on the small account challenge. Currently, since the update, I mean, I'm still sitting in the same place, 161. Where I'm in a long for Ethereum right now. Currently around break even, I would say, slightly up. I am actually looking for a much larger target. So, I've been watching the 15 minute, obviously, but what kind of caught my eye is the this is a horrible. Let me since I've been trading it on the 15 minute. This is like it's all clustered all the trades. Let's go on the 4 hour on the on Ethereum here. Hold on one second. Just so if anyone who's following the small account challenge can keep up to date on that. I guess I'll use the Bybit one. It's okay. So essentially, I was looking at Ethereum on the daily. It's very similar to Bitcoin. It's actually slightly more bullish. So I actually wanted to target the daily fair value gap right here. So I'm looking for Ethereum to get towards 1300 and potentially towards like 1350 ish, 1340 ish. So I'm willing to close out my long on it at 1300. Unless the price action looks very strong on the 15 minute, I'll look for continuation towards 1350, 1340. So that's why I'm likely going to be sitting in this trade for a bit longer compared to my other ones. But I like how this looks overall, structure wise, and I'm looking to see if it'll pay off. If not, I mean the risk is low. I think I'm risking around like $10, so I'm willing to risk that, and then I'm likely going to get around like a hundred something dollars. So we're talking about doubling the account. So small risk and high reward. So that's the update on the small account. Hopefully it works out, and then I can do another great video on it. We'll see. Sorry, Nasty. Go on ahead. What else were you looking at? Oh yeah, I know we talked about Flow some time ago. Well, first on
Yeah.
Chili's, I actually added onto my spot bag today, so I've been watching Chili's very
Uh,
closely. I again, like I mentioned, if you go back and watch my highlight on it, I did say that I watch for this trend line to break, but if it does, it's not the end of the world. It's eventually going to break, so if it breaks here, it's fine. But what I like about the level is one, it's at a very nice area consolidation wise. So if you're looking for this to be a much
yeah.
larger bottoming structure, I mean this is a very very big spot. But even if it loses this, it's not the end of the world. What's key is that it doesn't take out the lows down here. Okay, that's key. It doesn't take out these lows down here, and that if it does come down towards this descending trend line, which it's very steep, okay, it has to respect it. That's key. As long as it doesn't take out these lows down here, and it respects this zone as it's coming into it, we're all good. But
Yeah.
but this is a huge potential bottoming structure. We're talking like massive. All right, so that means
Massive.
watch. This will take time. Like this, if this does play out, you're talking about something that's going to take a ton of time. So as long as you're patient, um, you'll probably be rewarded. But you have to be patient. This structure. So you're looking at the descending trend line and then this descending trend line here. These two. This is huge. All right, this is huge. And I do think that Chili's could potentially be in its a new cycle. So we have to just wait and see how it goes. If it could hold this level around the 14, like pretty much this small fair value gap right here, and then this level here, that'd be great. But it's not, even if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. It's really these lows down here. That's why I always preach, slowly add on to these positions. You end up getting rewarded for it. And then flow, I'll do the chart where I don't have the other info on there. Flow is interesting. Very, very interesting. I think this is getting super, super tight. I think flow is primed for potentially. If Bitcoin can have an impulse, like just a nice move potentially back towards like 18 ish or close to it, I think flow might have
Yeah.
a violent like pull back up. I don't think this is like overly bullish or anything, but I do think that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these altcoins, especially the smaller coins like Flow, are so tight, um, and they're so exhausted from the selling that it's likely ready for a really violent move to the upside to at least start tapping into those higher levels of liquidity, like this fair value gap zone around here, like a dollar
Yeah.
fifty ish. So yeah, I'm taking my time with it. That's why when I added on to it, I mean it was a pretty far away add on from my original entry. I think it was fairly far away. Hmm. Anything else you're looking at?
No, I think I'm gonna come into the week with a different mindset, and we're gonna just have a look at what the week starts off with.
I hear you. Yeah, it's gonna be a. Actually, just
Yeah.
remind me, it's gonna be a fairly volatile week, I believe. We're gonna have, well, it should be a volatile week. I mean, we're gonna have some news over this week. So I think on the 13th we're gonna have the OPEC meeting, the monthly report, and then the CPI. I mean, CPI
Yeah.
is gonna be huge. Um, Everyone make sure always look for the core CPI. That's like the number to look out for, and then we'll have the interest rate
Yeah.
decision on the 14th. That's going to be, well, that's probably going to define the rest of December. Again, after everything I went over in this recap uh, during the stream, if they come out super dovish, super bullish, then expect the dollar just to spike down. Don't look for that larger head and shoulder structure. It's very unlikely to happen at that point. It could still happen. It's
Yeah.
just more unlikely. But if they come out fairly, neutral like as they've been, I would look, and they come out with a point 50 as they've been saying they're going to come out with point 50, then we should probably see the dollar strengthen a little bit, do kind of do that right shoulder potentially, and then if they come out fairly hawkish, then you might just see the dollar rally. It's like, so I know it's kind of like
Yeah.
I'm giving you all directions, but I'll tell you the most probable is that they stay the course, that they're going to do point 50 like they said they would, and we'll start that short term rise in the dollar. That's the most probable path, and then the most improbable path is that they go super super dovish. That's the most improbable. That's very unlikely.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you mentioned this uh, maybe a few weeks back, but you're saying, or I might have heard this from someone else, but there's this like little narrative going around that stock is gonna kind of head down and crypto is gonna kind of move up, and I don't know how that would all kind of correlate with how you think about the market between crypto and stock.
Well, right now, I disagree with that right now. So they're pretty much saying like crypto and stocks are going to have an inverse relationship. I have to disagree with
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I have to disagree with it right now because I don't see any evidence of it. Um, but that's the general goal, right? Like that's what that's the goal for Bitcoin, right? So if you believe Bitcoin's a safe haven, right, or it's like the digital gold, then you want it to have an inverse relationship with the traditional markets, with the dollar and the stock market. So you're looking for it to go up when the dollar. You're looking for it to go up when the stock market goes down, and vice versa. Um, Maybe it will, but I haven't seen that happen. Right? Maybe, but I will say
yeah,
this on the charts, it's not out of this world, right? Because if you look at Bitcoin on the chart, right, this is a massive retracement from the all-time high. Now, this doesn't mean it can't go lower. I actually do think over time, sometime next year, that we will eventually actually breach these lows and go towards like the 12s, maybe even lower than 10, slightly, not a lot, but slightly. Okay, but if you look at like the Dow and the S&P and all these guys, so we take a look at the Dow, if I can actually get the damn tab. There we go. All right, so if you look at the Dow, I mean this has not gone down much at all. Okay, and I think there's plenty of room to the downside for the Dow, especially the S&P. I think there's plenty of room for these indexes, the U.S. indexes to come lower. So, and the Bitcoin has fallen a ton already. So, percentage wise and its structure on the chart, crypto overall is
it just
way,
makes sense.
yeah, it's way more ahead in the selling than the stock market. Way more ahead. And the I think we're talking about like significant lows coming for the S&P over the next year or so. I do think you're probably going to see SP get back into the fair value channel and get back towards 3,000 and potentially even a little bit lower. So if Bitcoin were to follow it all the way down, that means it's going to go way lower than even what I'm thinking. And
Yeah,
the structure of what I'm seeing isn't saying that. So there is some evidence in the charts, I will say, that potentially at some point, Bitcoin and crypto, the cryptos that can survive, will actually start going up, even while the stock market's still going down. I just don't know if it's right now. I just don't know if that's it yet. But I do see some evidence of that, but I don't see any of it fundamentally yet. Not yet. Maybe next year. Maybe next year, especially if it gets as bad in Europe as I think it might. There might be people that look for plenty of alternatives, from their currencies, and Bitcoin is going to be one of them. You know.
oh yeah,
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna end the recording here. So everyone watching the VOD, thank you so much for your support. Remember, if you're interested in any of those services I talked about in the beginning, check out those links in the description below. Make sure to join the Discord so you can hang out with me and Nasty. Nasty's great. He does a couple of times a week. He'll do a day trading room. It could be in the morning your time, afternoon your time. You'll see he always puts out an event, and you can make sure to track it from there. And it's also the best place to ask us questions. So if you have questions for me or for Nasty, these are the Discord's the best place to do it. And the Discord's free, so there's no harm in joining. All right, everyone. Thanks again. And remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. Love you guys. Take care.